Back on the Football Outside the Box podcast, where we discuss the past, present, and future of the beautiful game. Liverpool versus City over the weekend. What's up, guys? I'm here with One Sock and Theo. Theo, as the man whose team came so close to getting a huge edge in the title race. How you felt about the game on the weekend?
Well, I felt happy to be honest with you, my brother. I felt happy because Liverpool we played better than City. It was astonishing to see because I heard you guys for the other episode. You guys were talking about City and the biggest strength they have right now is their quality, right? The quality, the resources they have. So to see Liverpool with a lot of improvised players in the squad, like Trent wasn't playing. So who was starting? Conor Bradley, the
Young
youngster.
guys.
And who was starting the left back? Joe Gomez. That's crazy, right? Like, I mean, if you think about it, like if you compare both sides, seems like City has a squad that we kind of can predict. As you guys were saying the last week, you guys can kind of predict who's going to play, who's going to start for City. And the same is not true for Liverpool. And considering that City does have more quality, more resources, more depth in the squad than Liverpool at the moment, I was expecting City to win, to be honest with you, even though I was cheering for Liverpool for sure. I was expecting either a City win or City to play better at the very least, to control the game, to have more possession, have more shots, have more passes. But actually, Liverpool played much better than them. At least, like when you see the whole game, when you see the game as a whole, in comparison to the first few minutes where City looked very smooth. I was actually scared for the first 10 minutes, I would say, because Liverpool, the way that City was passing the ball, it was so smooth that it got me scared. But then Liverpool kind of we calmed our nerves down. The game was very emotionally charged, so we kind of like calmed our nerves and we dictated the pace of the game. So we ended up having more passes, more possession. We were the first team to have more possession than City in the season so far. So that's a great achievement, I would say.
You
We
don't
had
get a
more
trophy for
shots.
that though.
Yeah, come on, one sock. We deserve it. We deserve it, though.
Yeah, I
Give
agree with
us
you.
some credit at least. At the very least, give us credit for that.
I fully agree with you. I mean, I thought City was gonna win the game. I thought City, or at least control the game. And they looked like they were controlling the game, I think, in the first half. But, Liverpool came out and played a much better second half. And they played, let's be honest, they played with a relatively young team, Conor Bradley, Gerald Kwanzaa, even Joe Gomez. I mean, he's not as young as
Harvey
they are,
Elliott
but
too.
Harvey Elliott, no Mo Salah to start with. I mean, it's a really impressive performance from Liverpool. And I think it alludes back to something we were talking about last week. We talked about how Klopp is always able to sort of impose his philosophy on players and, players that come into his team. I mean, he does that so well, it seems. That's how he's been able to sort of brand or retransform his midfield, three totally different players, and still have that same kind of philosophy. I think that's what they came with yesterday or on Sunday, was just the intensity. I think that's such a big part of Jurgen Klopp's philosophy, is the intensity with which his teams play. I think that's how they had the edge over City in the second half. They were so intense.
Yep. And especially in the first few minutes, we saw City's midfielders. They were completely controlling the game for the first 10 minutes. Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and De Bruyne, they were doing whatever they wanted to. But then as time went by, Liverpool kind of like switched gears, and players like McAllister and Endo, they were very active in the game. And kudos to a guy named Endo, because he had De Bruyne on his pocket, at least for the second half on. De Bruyne couldn't do anything because Endo was always on him, so intense, didn't offer him any space. De Bruyne had a lot of missed passes because Endo was always there on his back. I wonder what you
Played a
what you
good
think
game.
about a guy like that, Wansak, a guy who wasn't even like on the spotlight when he first moved to Liverpool. Nobody knew the guy, to be honest. He was signed for 16 million pounds, and nobody gave him anything. And now he's won the Man of the Match award against City. What do you make of a guy like him?
Well, I think most of that was from Chelsea outbidding Liverpool at the last minute for Caicedo. I I look at it in a similar sense as to Arsenal and Chelsea last summer again, or last winter, I should say. Arsenal wanted Mudryk uh, and Caicedo, right? They ended up signing Trossard and Jorginho. Both of them at the time were disappointments, almost like a stopgap signing. But now or especially Trossard has played a crucial part at the end of last season. Jorginho's playing a crucial part right now. Same way, Endo came in of 30. He came in at 30 years old, right? Not a future signing. Just for it was looked at as a stopgap, but yeah, he has stepped up. Other than the time that he was unavailable for his international duties, or I should say, ever since then, he had a good performance in the final too against Chelsea. I'll give him credit. Credit where it's due.
I thought he was great. I mean, I've as somebody who watches Bundesliga, I've seen him for Stuttgart. Stuttgart fans have loved him, since he was there.
He was our captain, right?
Yeah, he was our captain. A lot of people think he's younger than he is. I think people are kind of just finding out that he's 30, and he's quite a tidy player. Almost seems to be in that Fabinho mold. But even beyond the intensity, as I say, quite a technically sound and tidy player. I wanted to ask you one, Sock, because I feel like there is no man in this room that can be more neutral for this game than you. The reason I say that is because the idea going into this game was that a draw would have been a good result for Arsenal. I'm not sure whether I agree with that. I actually think a draw, I don't know if there really was a good result for Arsenal in this game, to be quite honest. People said that a draw was a good result. But no one can be more neutral than you, because it's either Liverpool, City, or Arsenal get the edge. Liverpool searching for number 20. City searching for 4 in a row. Arsenal searching for a first title for United or Arsenal since the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson. Each scenario represents an absolute terror situation for Manchester United fans worldwide. My question to you...
Sorry, go ahead, Christian. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know beyond even what you wanted to happen, I wanted to know what you made of the decision at the end on Jeremy Doku, that non-decision to not call the penalty.
I mean, first of all, as if we United fans hadn't suffered enough the past 6 years, we've watched City and Liverpool win the Champions League. I mean, City won the league 5 times, Liverpool won it once, but still, that's the last 6 years. We just watched our biggest rival and our noisy neighbor win, just dominate Europe, I should say. But I think, a lot of people say when your competition they're playing each other, in general, you want a draw, right? But I think in this case, Arsenal might have wanted or preferred City to win, considering they still have City to play. There's nothing they can do about Liverpool. They can only match what Liverpool do, right? If Liverpool score 50 goals in the next game, now, I mean, however unlikely that is, Liverpool are going to top Arsenal, and there's nothing they can do about it. Whereas City, they can go to the Etihad and beat them.
That was my thought as well. I thought Arsenal probably wanted a City win.
Yeah.
Especially because they're closer to City.
Mm-hmm, yeah. But, I mean, that's a penalty. That is a penalty.
Looked a penalty to me.
Sure. Do you have a question? There's no question about it. It was a penalty. But I feel like people were giving more credit to this play than it was due, because, I mean, of course it was a penalty. And people always tend to say that Liverpool are usually benefited by the referee's calls. And that's just a point to prove that the calls don't go always in our favor, right? Referees also make mistakes against Liverpool, and that's a part of the game. Even though we have VAR that serves as a tool to reduce those kind of mistakes, it's still not going to eradicate all the mistakes forever, right? Mistakes are still going to happen since human beings are in charge of the game. But I would say that people are saying that Liverpool didn't win the game because of the penalty that wasn't given, but I don't think it was as simple as that. I see that Liverpool had a lot more opportunities than City had. Luis Diaz had 3 clear-cut chances that he should have scored.
True.
So it's not only the penalty that we should be focusing on, right? Even though it was a penalty, that's for sure. But we didn't just draw the game because of the penalty that wasn't given. We drew the game because we couldn't finish. We couldn't score on the opportunities that we had. As simple as that.
Yeah, I think it was one of the most enjoyable games of the season. I have to give a big shout out to, Virgil van Dijk. I think he put in an all-time performance at the weekend, in my opinion. I think he showed why he he's one of the best 3 centre backs in the history of the league. Definitely better than Nemanja Vidic. Up there with Rio Ferdinando. I think that he was phenomenal. And I also thought that Kyle Walker got a little bit of unfair criticism in the game. I know he got chopped by Diaz a couple times, but I think actually Walker put in a pretty typical performance that we expect from him. I thought he was quite solid in the game. City have just looked like that this season. It's strange. Like, they've not been that inevitable force that they have been, and it's going to be interesting to see how their game goes with Arsenal. I think that is going to be fireworks. I also wonder how Liverpool would have played if they had their full strength team. I wonder if maybe they would have been a bit more cautious. Maybe the young guys just had a bit more fire in their belly, and they came out in the second half and showed it. Any more thoughts on the what could have been a title deciding match?
Yeah, before you go on one sec, I just saw a few comments online about people kind of questioning Klopp's decisions for the squad. Playing Joe Gomez instead of Robertson in the left-hand side, playing Elliott as a right wing instead of Mohamed Salah, who you all expected to start. At least I did as a Liverpool fan, especially for a game as big as this. But when the game was kind of taking place, actually we could see the strategies that both teams had placed. I actually saw that Klopp's idea was very bright, right? Because Elliott, he offered a lot in the first half at least. He was controlling every hard ball that he was receiving. He was attacking the space, passing the ball quickly, moving quickly. He was excellent in the first half. And then he dropped back to the mid once Szoboszlai was subbed off, who actually had a bad performance in my view. He didn't play as well as he could have played. And also Joe Gomez, he didn't have an outstanding match, but he was there. He's there to close the gaps defensively. And I feel like that's why Klopp didn't play both Conor Bradley and Robertson at the same time. Because, that's too much attacking pressure. And you might leave gaps open for counterattacks, and players might be running behind your backs. That's what was happening with Bradley in the first 10 minutes. Alvarez was always on his back, so that's why Klopp had to move him back a little more. So he was playing more as a left wing, a right wing at first, and then he dropped to a right back wing. But I don't question Klopp's decisions as far as how he built the squad. I only question the sub that he made during the game when he subbed off Nunez for Gakpo. Sorry.
I agree with you.
It felt like the right decision at that time was to sub off Diaz, who was not having a great night. As we all saw, he was missing a few chances, even though he was fiery, he was electric, he was quick. And like you said, he was dancing around Walker a few times, even Rodri too. But I feel like a guy like Nunez, who scored a winning goal at the 98th minute against Nottingham Forest, I feel like he shouldn't be subbed off, because he adds too much for the game, even though he was offside 5 times in a match, which is a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you fully. I also was a little shocked at the substitution. One thing I've been seeing a lot since the game is some discussion. I've been seeing it on Twitter and social media and stuff. They're asking if this is the biggest rivalry in the history of the Premier League. This game is the biggest rivalry. Because we all know that in the 2000s, coming up to the 2010s, it was Man United versus Arsenal. That was the game of the season. It's always built to be the game of the season. Now it's Liverpool City. And of course, inevitably, there are arguments about which is the bigger rivalry. What's you guys' thoughts on that? One, Sak, as a United fan, Do you feel that your rivalry with Arsenal is bigger than this one?
100%. There's no chance that City. I do respect Liverpool to a certain extent, as much as I do not like them. There's no pedigree for City for them to belong in this discussion, really. Imagine if United were in the title race this season instead of City. United, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Three teams, three top teams in English football going head to head for the title. The amount of coverage that we will be getting right now compared to compared to how it is right now, it will be insane. There's no chance that as much you can speak to the quality of the games. I mean, Liverpool couldn't win the league with 97 points. I don't think United have ever reached 97 points in our history. And City, of course, Centurions, Liverpool achieved 99 points as well. I will give them credit for what they have produced. But if you're simply looking at what the games have produced, I mean, I of course I was too young to live in that moment of early 2000s. But watching it on YouTube, I mean, it's pretty easy to find. I just off the top of my head, I can think of Fabregas throwing the pizza at Sir Alex Ferguson, Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira going at each other in the tunnel, Van Nistelrooy missing the penalty, and Keown and co surrounding him, ganging up on him. What can I think of? I mean, that's a proper rivalry, right? What can I think of for Liverpool against City? Nothing, really.
Well, I mean, to me, I think, sorry to cut you, Theo, but I think that for me, what I think of when I think Liverpool City, I think of maybe the 2 or 3 best games that I've ever watched in the Premier League. Like that's what they've given me. Mm-hmm. But Theo, what do you think?
No, I was gonna agree with one sock. Like historically, Arsenal Man United is a bigger rivalry. That's for sure. That we can't contest that, right? But my only fear is that if it keeps going the way that it's going right now, Liverpool and City dueling for every single year, or aside from last year, but if it keeps going like this, I feel like we might have this discussion in a few years from now, and the answer might be different, you know?
That was going to be my question, was what does City have to do? You know what I mean? Like, do they just have to like win like 8, 9, 10 more titles and then we can start talking about them in the same vein? Or will it never happen just because we know how they got their funding?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't like. You asked me who do you want to win the title? Anyone but Liverpool for me. Like City, they can win 4 in a row. I do not care. They still have to answer those 115 charges, and I think I don't know if City will ever get over that. How are they going to get over that? Are they gonna? There's still going to be a cloud hanging over them. And what fraud did you perform to get, if they do get away with those charges? What did you do to fabricate those evidence, or how much did you pay your lawyers to do all this? I just don't see City getting to the level of any top clubs in the Premier League.
I think that's an interesting point. And I think United fans would probably agree with you that if they had to take it, it would be City, because they can always hold the charges above their head in a strictly bragging rights sense of the word. But it's tough for me to say, honestly. I mean, listen, there will never not be a sense of nostalgia for me about Man United and Arsenal. There's always a sense of hype and excitement about the game. The 2 of those teams had the best players in the Premier League at the time. Similarly with Liverpool City, I think that the quality of the matches on a technical level, and tactical level, is better with Liverpool and City. I think that just comes with the evolution of the game. The fact that we have coaches with maybe a bit more tactical nous, if I dare say that. But it's tough to compare eras like that. I mean, I would say what some people say about Messi and Ronaldo. I would say, just enjoy him. We have them now, and
this was their last game.
Yeah, this is
between, yeah.
Pep and Klopp last game. I really hope Klopp. I was hoping Klopp would maybe. There's a small chance of him doing a bit of a remontada, coming back and saving Dortmund from themselves, but that may never happen. So, anyway, talking about Arsenal, 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again, and we do not have Noah here today, unfortunately, but he will be buzzing with another Kai Havertz goal. They're still in the title race. I have to tell you guys, it has been a little bit tough for me to take Arsenal as a title contender seriously after what happened last season. But I have to give them so many props because this season, they're still looking good. They're still looking up there. And where I feel sometimes like they're going to drop points, they're just not dropping those points. I feel like they're kind of showing the mark of champions.
That's a big statement. That's a big statement.
Maybe not this season, but they look like they could be champions in seasons to come.
I just think they're the best team in the league this season. Most of the games, except for a period where they lost around Christmas and after, they're simply dominating every single team they go up against. And that is what champions do. That's what Man City do. That's what Liverpool did in 2019, 2020. Remember, I think they won like 22 games and drew once at Old Trafford. I really think this is Arsenal's season. And there was a lot made about Kai Havertz signing, but if you look at just his goals, he's won them at least 6 points both times against Brentford, and in the dying minutes of the game. So I had my doubts on Kai Havertz when I think a lot of people did, as did I. But just the fact that he's won them 6 points at least. I think there's more. I can't think of what it was off the top of my head, but yeah, he's if he brings them the title, then 60 million, it's worth it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Kai Havertz truther. I have always believed in the man. I believed in him at Chelsea to my demise, but I was glad that he went to Arsenal and he's showing it. He's one of those players that will just always have the eagle eyes over him, if you know what I mean. He's like Haaland in that respect. Like, if he doesn't score in a game, the fraud shouts are going to come out. If he makes like sort of a comical error in a game, we just live in that age now. It's going to be clipped and there's going to be fraud shouts. He has to be so careful when it comes to the social perspective on him. Not that he really cares. I'm sure he just, goes out there and plays and gets paid, tries to win. But I love to see him doing well. I love to see him score. I think he's a quality player. I think he's Thomas Muller 2.0 in my opinion.
Christian, I want to say this because I never really realized that you guys, you and Kai Havertz, you guys actually kind of look alike, man.
I was just thinking that. But I didn't know if I should say it, but yeah, now I'm looking at you and like, maybe that's why you like Kai Havertz so much.
When I was in high school, everybody said I look like Thomas Muller. That's funny. But I can see it. It's the thin, it's the thin face.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I say Thomas Muller 2.0. I mean, I think he's more technically gifted than Thomas Muller. I think he has more quality in that sense. Obviously, there are certain things with Thomas Muller that you can't replicate, or that you can't, that are not easy to replicate. Let's put it that way. His general football IQ, I think, is nearly unmatched, like, for a player like him. They just play, to me, as far as I can see, they play a similar position in that sort of just behind the striker. I feel like that's where they are ideally used, the two of them. So that's why I say he's, to me, like a Thomas Muller 2.0. I just think he's super effective and he's got so much to his game. I really hope he does well.
And Christian, I go back to the discussion we were having a few weeks ago about Arsenal not having a proper number 9, right? Because Jesus, as Noah said, was not the right guy. And then you and Noah, you guys were kind of going back and forth, but making a statement that Arsenal does need a striker, and the option will be Ivan Toney, who had a great match against Arsenal. He almost scored a banger, but Ramsdale was there to stop him, fortunately for him. But I always mention, I remember I mentioned about the Champions League final between Man City and Chelsea, where Kai Havertz, he was improvised as a number 9, like a false 9, and he scored the decisive goal, the title-winning goal. And now another decisive goal for Arsenal at the minute 86, if I'm not mistaken. Saving Arsenal, winning them 2 crucial points at the stage of the title race. And then I go back to that question: does Arsenal really need a number 9, at least for this season? Because Kai Havertz just proved that he can be an option, right? He can be a false 9, or even he can play as a number 9. He was there to score a great header. And we were saying that maybe a proper number 9 coming off the bench, or someone who you can rely on. But ain't Kai Havertz that kind of guy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not sure how his game is going to continue to develop. He's shown that he can do a job as a false 9 or as an out-and-out 9. When I say do a job, some people might argue with that and say, well, what kind of job are you talking about? I don't know if he's going to get you 20 goals a season from number 9. I'm just not sure how his game is going to develop in that sense. Just from what I have seen of Kai Havertz over the years, even from him as a youngster, I just feel that he is so well suited to playing in behind a striker. When he was at Bayer Leverkusen, he was in that second striker role behind a guy like Kevin Volland, who he was responsible for sort of, being the out and out 9. So Kai Havertz is able to, act as a forward and score and be in the box and everything that he's doing now. But he was also able to show his quality as a player to provide for a number 9, which I think he's so capable of doing. I think he's got all of that in his locker as well. So, the guys that coach him probably know best where his trajectory is. He might very well end up being an out-and-out 9. He's one of those guys that, he played left back for Germany, for God's sake, right? He's quite versatile in that way. Just from my experience watching him as a youngster coming up to now, I love him in that pocket right behind the number 9. I think he's quality there. But who knows? We shall see as he develops. He may very well be the next KH9.
I will say this one last thing about Arsenal. I still think they do need to go big on a striker. There's no way they sign Ivan Toney. Arteta hates him, I think. From the tweet and all that stuff. I think they signed Osimhen this summer. They've shown that they're not. Yeah, they've shown that they're not the old Arsenal anymore. They've spent £105 million on Declan Rice last summer. Osimhen's going to cost a little more than that, probably, I think, according to his release clause. They've shown that they are willing to do that sort of deal. And I think that's the signing that will take them to that even higher from what their level is right now.
That's an interesting point. I think that would be quite something to see. I'm not sure how I feel about Victor Osimhen at the moment. He seems to have sort of declined a bit in terms of, the levels of hype that he was getting. Like, obviously, he's a great forward and everything. But he seems to be being outperformed in Serie A by a certain Lautaro Martinez. I know I brought him up a long time ago that maybe he might be an outside shout for Arsenal. But Osimhen would be crazy going to Arsenal. All the talk is around him going to Chelsea because he's supposedly a Chelsea fan, from a youth. But I really hope he doesn't for his own sake. I
don't think Chelsea can afford him anyway.
I think Chelsea is saturated at this point with forwards. Even Nkunku breaks my heart. I really hope that he finds it at Chelsea and does what we know he can do.
Well, one last thing about Arsenal, I just hope they win today against Porto, so they can go as far as they can in the Champions League. So the squad kind of gets exhausted to go for the title race in the Premier League. So let's hope they can go as far as they go, meaning they reach the final and they lose again, like they did in '06.
I'm
I know
torn.
it's going to be super sad. He's not going to join us again for the podcast
No,
ever.
I'm torn. I'm honestly torn. I don't know what I want to see today because I love to see an upset in the Champions League, but I also want to see the best teams go forward. And obviously,
Yeah.
Arsenal is the right now. No disrespect to Porto, but they are the better team. I want to see them go far.
Well, in theory, because in the first match they played very badly against Porto. Now let's see how they're gonna play at home at the
Yeah.
Emirates. It should be a different story, but I hope they move up. You know, I don't hope they win the title for God's sake, but let them keep moving up as far as they can so they get exhausted. That's it.
That's right. And their possible future striker, Victor Osimhen. Hopefully he will have something to say against Barcelona as well. I actually want to see Napoli go forward ahead of Barca. I think they're actually the more exciting outfit at the moment, despite Barca's size. I think those are the only two Champions League games going on today.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I think it's an exciting week and few weeks of football coming up. We have the run into the title. Arsenal City is going to be massive when it comes. Champions League round of 16, the quarters will be decided after tomorrow ends. It's just looking like an exciting run into the end of the season. I'm looking forward to it.
Same here. Let's see what the future reserves, right? Let's see what's going to happen in the weekend, and we're going to be here next Tuesday to discuss it.
That's right. Well, it has been a pleasure, guys. Big up yourselves, and we'll be back next week to talk some more football.
That's all we have time for today. Guys, thanks for tuning in as always. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. Remember to subscribe, to leave comments, and share with your friends. Follow us on social media at FOTBpod. Don't forget to leave a review, rating, and most importantly, don't forget to turn on those notifications. Join us again next time as we discuss the highly anticipated upcoming Premier League action. Thanks again as always. See you then.